Hey, what's up, Plus Ultra fam? It's me, Plus Ultraman, and today we're going to continue the timeline where Raditz actually got Goku to join him, and they're much more brotherly. And right off the bat, guys, I want to preface this video and say you may not agree with some of the choices I've made for this part, but I assure you, I'm trying my best to keep the story from being extremely, for lack of a better word, fan-fictiony. Know that everything I've decided is what can make the story as interesting as possible, yet as close to reality of the series as possible. I truly do hope you do enjoy. As always, I'll recap the last part. When we last left off, the Saiyans had been saved from being completely wiped out by Frieza and ended up transported to Earth, where they learned that Piccolo had survived his encounter with Raditz and trained hard to take over the world, killing Tien, Chaozu, and a load of innocent people to achieve that goal. Hearing this, Goku takes care of the would-be king, and the Saiyans strike a truce until they can defeat Frieza. After that, it would be back to business, and they'd all be trying to kill each other again. In preparation for this fight, they all use a time chamber, and Piccolo even joins in as he's not done with his bid for the Earth. Piccolo has also gotten to Nappa, and they have secretly joined forces. Other than that, the group just kind of relaxed and enjoyed being together after not being so for a year and a half. The Saiyans got to know the Earthlings, Vegeta and Raditz getting pretty close to Bulma and Launch respectively. And at the end of the part, Bulma and her group had decided to go to Namek to revive those killed by Piccolo, who suspiciously decided to go with them. This is something I forgot to mention in that video, but Turles actually decided he would go with the Namek team to keep Piccolo in line, and maybe sneak some training with Gohan, as he was not allowed to train on Earth with them. But other than that, Goku and his group decided that they are going straight to the heart of Frieza's empire to strike back. Now for this part, we'll be focusing on Goku's team. We'll chat back in with Momo's crew next part. Goku, Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa at the moment were traveling to where Vegeta said the true home of Frieza was. Anytime we see Frieza in the series, he's usually in his mothership, but we never really see him resting on a planet or some type of space station that he would really call his home. So my creation in this scenario is that Frieza and King Cold have some type of resting spot where the majority of their forces stay, and they just relax there. Vegeta, once in the Capsule Corp ship, changes out of the pink uniform that he would have had to wear since he lost the bet to Bulma. And remember, he is the one who commissioned this ship from Bulma, not Goku. Therefore, he did not ask her or her father to make a gravity machine like Goku would have. During the entire trip, Goku and Vegeta desperately want to spar, but they know it'd be pretty tame. So, Goku comes up with the idea of teaching Vegeta how to do image training, and the two just sit there for hours, fighting without throwing one punch. Raditz spends most of his time strategizing. At this point, he is under the impression that they can all kill Frieza with little effort, because Goku and Vegeta are around twice the power of his first form, and they don't know that he can transform yet. Raditz finds Vegeta to be the bigger threat, as he's thinking of ways to take him on afterwards, as Goku and Vegeta are almost equal in power, or so Raditz believes. Goku's been hiding some power from his potential being a bit higher than Vegeta's around this time in the original timeline. Raditz realizes that if Goku were to lose Vegeta, they would not be able to defeat him, and while Nappa was openly against Vegeta, he was not for Raditz and Goku. So Raditz has to come up with some type of idea that would allow him to kill both Vegeta and Nappa after they had beaten Frieza. Now, I imagine wherever Frieza's base would be, it would be pretty deep in space, and while the Capsule Corp ship is extremely fast, it would take them some time. Let's say about a month or so, though Goku and Vegeta's image training is not enough for them. Raditz is strategizing, and Nappa is just brooding in the corner. They're all getting pretty pent up. Vegeta, thinking he's a pseudo-leader of this group, realizes this, and he thinks to himself that it would be very beneficial for them to stretch their legs a bit. I imagine this is kind of the Vegeta that we get in the Android saga. He's in that anti-hero stage where he will never admit that he kind of likes Goku or Raditz or any of them, but he's not openly trying to fight against them. His corruption of good has kind of happened from Goku and Bulma. Vegeta decides that on the way they can make little detours and destroy Frieza-owned planets to piss the Emperor off. Goku, however, shuts that down, at least the destruction of the planets part, and tells Vegeta that if he plans to do that they might as well have their fight now. Vegeta does consider this as is a pretty good idea, but he concedes this to Goku, and they compromise that they would eliminate all the Frieza forces on the planet. That way, they can get some time to stretch their legs, and they piss Frieza off. It's a win for both of them. So we get these scenes of the Saiyans running out to Frieza planets and taking on the Frieza forces. Goku, Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta. And Raditz realizes how ironic it is that now he and his little brother are working with Vegeta to take down Frieza. This is the dynamic for the few weeks of travel, and finally, they reach their destination and find a huge wall of Frieza soldiers out waiting for them in front of the space station. Vegeta, still taking up his leadership role, decides that they wouldn't hide their power levels completely and leave them lower than the power of Frieza's first form, around 100 to 200,000. Enough to make Frieza throw his soldiers out, but be relaxed enough to simply sit back and watch the carnage. Raditz didn't love this idea, but he knows that Vegeta really wants to screw with Frieza, and he does love that idea. Now, I imagine Frieza's ship can make some kind of artificial atmosphere for his soldiers when they fight in space, because of this scene in the Bardock special. Granted, this could be that the atmosphere of planet Vegeta just reaches out so far that Bardock can still breathe, but I'm just going to say that in some way, there is some type of artificial atmosphere being created by Frieza's ship, because we've never been confirmed that all the other Frieza forces can survive in space like Frieza can. So, that's happening here on this space station, and as long as the Saiyans stay within that area, they can basically fight in space. Seeing their targets, Goku, Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa fly from their ship and enter the army and begin tearing through them like a 1,000-degree knife through butter. Vegeta taking extreme catharsis in this with all the payback, especially when he sees people like Kui easily blast him into oblivion. Nappa is getting a similar happiness from all this carnage, but continues waiting for the right moment to implement the plan that he and Piccolo had made, while Goku and the Raditz are just enjoying the fight and waiting for their chance to hit Frieza. Raditz in the back of his head though is starting to think that this is way too easy, and this idea is confirmed for him once he sees Captain Ginyu appear in front of Goku with Guldo and stab himself through the chest with a hand, right before Guldo activates his time stop. Guldo moves over and tries to pin Goku down so he'd be hit by the Change Now beam. But this all backfires as soon as time resumes because Goku has ample time to move. Remember, this Goku has a max power level of 2 million, so he'd be much faster than the beam would actually hit him. He reaches down, grabs Guldo by the head, and throws him into the beam, ruining Ginyu's plan. The two Ginyu Force members then look on in horror, seeing Vegeta literally ram straight through Raccoon, and Nappa obliterating the tag team of Burter and Jace, as well as a big group of Frieza's surrounding soldiers with his volcano explosion attack. Vegeta then notices them and looks over with a very cruel smirk, which was the last thing they saw before he blew them away with a blast. With the Ginyu Force completely obliterated, Frieza frowns and sets down his wine, sighing as he realizes that he must now intervene. A hatch in his station opens, and he floats out in his chair, flanked by Zarbon and Dodoria. Vegeta notices them and begins yelling and gloating to Frieza about revenge for the Saiyan race and how he had finally become the legendary Super Saiyan that he knew Frieza feared. Frieza simply rolls his eyes in exasperation at this, and simply raises a finger to blow Vegeta away with a supernova. Vegeta only smirks at this and waits for the attack, the other Saiyans paying rapt attention to him now. Frieza throws the attack and mows down the soldiers too slow or too stupid to avoid it. Frieza is especially shocked when the attack doesn't destroy Vegeta, but instead Vegeta holds against it, pressing back and trying to resist it, before yelling and hurling it straight up into the air, where it explodes harmlessly, and he begins to laugh in Frieza's face. Vegeta begins to tease and yell at Frieza as he starts to slowly power up to his full power level of 1,104,000, destroying any scouters that were previously intact. Frieza and Zarbon are not scared at all, but Frieza does relent and compliment Vegeta on growing this powerful, even though it would not serve him at all with such feeble power, before he blasts Dodoria away for fleeing out of fear. He then begins to grow and morph into his second form, which blows Vegeta and the rest of the Saiyans away, as they note that this form isn't too far above Vegeta's power level. Vegeta not being scared about this and really enjoying the idea of an even fight plows into the Emperor in his huge form, and the two begin to wage absolute war on each other, which causes any of the remaining soldiers to flee from the awesome power of the two, and Zarbon morphs into his monster form and begins killing the deserters. Zarbon's job didn't last very long though, as he's blasted away by Raditz, which freed up the rest of the Saiyans to watch the battle, with Goku extremely bored and anxious while watching. Frieza, on the other hand, was growing sick and tired of being nearly even with Vegeta, and Vegeta's much better martial arts from his training with Goku in the Room Spirit in Time was quickly allowing him to get more and more critical and painful hits on the Emperor. Frieza scoffs at the idea, but is pushed back into transforming into his third form. Once he announces it though, Vegeta is nowhere near as shocked, and he begins to attack Frieza while he's transforming, blasting and beating him, but Frieza's growing power made these hits thud and barely hurt. Once he had finally transformed completely, he granted his new form and began to absolutely torture Vegeta with the crazy finger beam technique, knocking the Prince out of the fight. Goku now realizes that it's his turn to take on Frieza and zooms in to do so, surprising the others as he reveals that he's actually much stronger than he's been letting on. Goku has a max power level of 2,070,000, and most power levels I see for third form Frieza place him around 1.8 million to 2 million. So let's say that he's about 1.8 million. And he's put in the same position he was in with Vegeta only moments earlier. But now, things are much worse for him. Goku's martial arts are better, and his power level is higher. Frieza grows bored of taking this beating very quickly, and goads Goku into letting him transform to his true state, which Goku agrees to, wanting a much better fight than one he's getting. Raditz, however, is having none of this, and flies in to attack the Emperor himself. But with Goku laying off him, all Frieza has to do is sit there and transform, and none of the hits that Raditz is giving him are really doing much. Nappa, while onlooking the battle, realized that this is the perfect chance for him to implement his plan. Vegeta is down, Goku is distracted while watching Frieza transform, and Raditz is doing everything he can to stop the transformation. He won't be getting a better shot, so he flies back to the Capsule Corp ship and flees as stealthily as he can, ignoring the curse of Vegeta, who was the only one to notice him leaving. Vegeta weakly raised a hand and tried to shoot one ki blast to stop Nappa from fleeing, but he was slowly losing consciousness and ended up missing. He cursed a final time and focused back in on the fight with Goku, Raditz, and Frieza, and realized that Frieza had completed his transformation and was now taking on the two low-class Saiyans that he had held such contempt for. He saw them taking on Frieza, and this strange mixture of pride and jealousy began to overtake him. Goku and Raditz were beginning to panic as Frieza was slowly ramping up his power, now at 5% and easily dominating the two. With Raditz thinking fast, puts his hands to his head and uses one of the techniques that Goku had taught him during their training on planet Frieza number 79. He yells out Solar Flare and blinds the Emperor. He then looks to Goku in a hurry and tells him to go ahead and use the Sensu Beans like they planned so they could get a Zenkai boost. But before he reached for his, he felt a dull pain and began to hack up blood, only to look down and see a gaping hole through his chest. Staggering back, he looked at the culprit, a bored-looking King Cold, scowling at his son, as Frieza yelled about his eyes. Once he had recovered, King Cold began to chastise Frieza for wasting so much time, and raised a hand to use a death beam on Goku, who barely noticed the pain for all the anger and rage flooding him at seeing Raditz gunned down. This began to make Goku shake and tremble with rage, drawing Cold and Frieza's attention to him. As Raditz fell back, bleeding out worse than Vegeta was, he ended up pretty close to the prince, and he reached down into his armor to pull out the Sensu Beam he had snuck off Earth, thankful that it hadn't been destroyed by Cold's blast. Raditz slowly began to make the move to chomp down on him, but he paused and looked at Vegeta, who was now nearly in tears from all the pain and anger and jealousy flooding his system. He shook his head as he reached out and put the beam in the other Saiyan's hand. He hacked and coughed up more blood, groveling something about how he had a much better chance of helping out his brother. Raditz implored him to finally finish off this damn war that their fathers began, and passes off, leaving a shocked Vegeta. But the situation only grew more chaotic and intense as Goku roared out, covered in a deep golden aura with his eyes blanked and his hair raised. Frieza began to wonder if that Super Saiyan legend they had been talking about so long was really true, but Cold wasted no time and began to blast at the Saiyan growler. Now, here's one of the things that I think you guys may not agree with me in, and if you don't, that's perfectly fine. In this what if though, I'm going to say that King Cold cannot transform. My theory is that it's not possible for him. My number one reason is that if he could, future Goku wouldn't have been able to beat him, as strong as he was. In the manga, it's stated that he's about as strong as Mecha Frieza in the form we saw him in. So, if transformation was possible for him, that would render him stronger, and therefore, he would have killed Goku, not the heart virus. Number two, there's an interview where Toriyama says if Cold had the ability to transform, his final form would be about as strong as semi-perfect Cell. But that was an if, not a confirmation that he can transform. Number three, Frieza's forms aren't transformations like Super Saiyan forms. He doesn't get stronger by adding some type of multiplier. They're actually suppressions, so he doesn't constantly destroy things when out of battle. With that line of logic, if Cold's resting stage is like Frieza's second stage, that would mean that he has less power to limit, which makes no sense as he's supposed to be as strong as Mecha Frieza. Finally, in number four, well just finally, Store Brave probably would have decided to revive King Cold over Frieza because he makes statements showing that he knows that Goku beat Boo, so he'd know he's stronger. Now again, if you don't agree, that's perfectly fine, but just know that I've decided that in this what if, King Cold cannot transform. He is locked in the form that we see him in, except he's extremely strong. Now back to the story. Goku in this false Super Saiyan state would probably only be getting a 25 times multiplier or so. This puts him around a 50 million power level at the moment, and Frieza is still angry at the Saiyans, wanting to continue toying with him, but was cut off by his father, wanting him to just destroy them. Frieza sighs and was about to do so, but was interrupted when Vegeta, fresh off his Zenkai boost, plows right through him, attacking him away and distracting Cold long enough for Goku to do the same to him. Now, Vegeta around this time was getting Zenkai boosts that were very strong, but they weren't the same as Goku's. The Zenkai he got after fighting Ragoon put him around 250,000, and when he fought Frieza, he was around 500,000. When he fought Frieza's final form, he would have had to been around 2 million or so. So let's mix those two Zenkais together and give him a 2 times boost. This puts him at a base power level of 4 million. And Vegeta at the moment was raging. He could feel the massive power coming from Goku, and was under the impression, like Frieza was, that that was what a Super Saiyan was, and it was nowhere near what they needed to win. So much had happened in such a short time that it just supercharged his emotions. Nappa, who was supposed to be an elite, had betrayed them and fled. Though Raditz and Goku, who were supposed to be the low class, had showed so much Saiyan pride and gumption in fighting Frieza head on. Raditz, who openly hated him, had even sacrificed himself to give Vegeta another shot. And Goku was still fighting for his life and using what he believed to be the Super Saiyan power. And what's worse, Goku got there first. Not to mention, the legend still wasn't enough to beat Frieza. Vegeta was angry. Vegeta was furious. And it all coalesced in this amazing surge of power. Finally, he roared out and in a huge flash of golden light became a true Super Saiyan with a power level of 200 million. Cole was then distracted from his manhandling of Goku, whose unstable Super Saiyan form had worn off. He saw the huge flash of light and looked over to see a golden-haired Vegeta dominating Frieza in his full power state. Cole realized that Frieza was in extreme danger, tried to blast Goku into oblivion, but was stopped when Goku reached into his gi like Raditz had done before him and produced a Sensu beam, chomping down on it and getting a Zenkai boost, and flashing into the same state as Vegeta. Now Goku got almost 34 times stronger from the Zenkai he got after fighting Captain Ginyu, but I've already given him a bit of a plot boost from that Zenkai, so the boost he'll be getting here will be half that, at 17 times. That puts Goku's base power level at 34 million, and when in Super Saiyan form, an insane 1.7 billion, which Vegeta takes ample notice of. With this new power, Goku begins to easily overpower and beat down on Cole. Knowing there is absolutely no way he and Vegeta can lose, he prepares to tell Cole to take Frieza and leave. But he stops, and he thinks about Raditz, and his father who Raditz had told him about. And even Turles and Gohan, he realized he couldn't face them if he let Frieza and his father live. With a cruel and serious look, he throws King Cold into Frieza, stopping Vegeta from wailing on the young Emperor, and tells Vegeta that it's time the Saiyans give the demons a taste of their own medicine. Vegeta wants to argue, but he can think of nothing more fitting than the Saiyans blasting these two into oblivion. So he fights beside Goku and begins to charge up the attack that he'd been thinking of during their image training, that he was going to call the Final Flash, while Goku drops into the Kamehameha stand. King Cold and Frieza begin to panic, but Cold, thinking quick and dirty, decides to blast the space station, which was creating the artificial atmosphere that the Saiyans are using to breathe, and begins to blow up, making the air the Saiyans breathe start to disappear. But Vegeta and Goku grit their teeth and let their blast fly, blasting Cold and Frieza away completely. And the two are horrified as they see ghosts of the Saiyans that they had killed behind the two, as if the entire race had opened up hell, climbed out just to drag them down there with them. There would be no coming back. With no time to waste, Vegeta realized that their own fight would have to wait till later, and struggles to breathe to tell Goku to follow him into the exploding space station to get space pods and fly out of there. They do so with little time to waste and climb in pods, not even changing the preset coordinates, which I will leave as yard draft. The two just barely escape the blast and pass out from barely being able to breathe the entire time. The last thing we see is Nappa and the Capsule Corp ship flying towards planet Nim with a smirk. And that, Plus Ultra fam, is we'll be leaving this timeline off for now. Yes, I know this one is a bit far-fetched, but this is just the idea I had for this part. I wanted the war and conclusion of the Frieza arc to be as cathartic as possible for the Saiyans. I'm also leaving the plan that Nappa and Piccolo have come up with pretty barren until next part, because a lot of Nappa's actions in this part won't be explained till then. Again, I really have tried to keep this What If as grounded in the reality of the series as possible, but I have to warn you now that the parts following this will be incredibly creative just like this one was. So I hope everyone truly does enjoy them, regardless of how fanfiction they can get, and I hope you guys do keep watching. As always, go beyond Plus Ultra. We'll see you guys next time. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.